We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that that's coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. To fight back, it's an all-out attack.
Good evening, welcome along to Geordies here, Geordies there. A day earlier than usual. I'll be out tomorrow night, so you've got Talk of the Tune, a pre-recorded version of that tomorrow night, but we thought we'd go live with this one. Mitch, older Mitch, George Mitchell and Steve Hasty, all unavailable tonight. They're all otherwise engaged, and they will be back next week. So welcome to Tom from Toon Army, Minnesota. You might remember him from the Around the World section that we've done and will continue to do through the summer. Kev's with us tonight, Martin, of course, Magnus, Stu and Al Walid. And as always, we'll use this next hour to chat about Newcastle United and talk about Brentford first. Kevin was part of the fans forum last night, so he's had his say on the Brentford game. But Tom, just want to ask you about that final game of the season. It was a good win, got us into 7th place. Overall, happy with where we ended up finishing, Tom, and that result.
Yeah, I mean, 7th at the beginning of the year. I think a lot of us were saying anywhere 5th, 6th, 7th is probably where we'll end up, just because of the strength of schedule and the amount of games, congestion, etc. So 7th, it was very disappointing, obviously, against Man United. I'm not the only one who absolutely hates them, so that was a bitter swallow, I can tell you. But finishing above them is something. I think finishing 7th is probably a fair result based on our performance this year and everything that we overcame. So yeah, I think it was good. It's a good way to end the season with the win. First of all, I have to say something for the traveling supporters. Here in the States, we heard nothing else. There was no other sound in that stadium outside of when Tony had that early goal that was called back. Every other song, every other chant that you heard throughout the game was our traveling supporters who looked like they had a great time in the sunshine there. And the 3 goals at the half probably was a little, I mean, we took our chances. We really crashed forward. I thought it was pretty risky. There's obviously a lot of people have opinions on this, but at one time I saw both Byrne and Hall in front of Joe Linton. That we were really crashing forward. Is pretty ballsy, I thought. But we took our chances. We got them. I think it was a little bit against the run of play. First 20 minutes was Brentford, I think. We didn't play particularly well. I thought Barnes and Hall were a little bit slow in the beginning as we started off. But Joe Linton really solidified the left side. So shout out to him. He's my favorite player anyway, so it's not hard for me to do that. So, yeah, I thought the first half, 3-0 going into the half. Everybody felt good. We were all it was early here, but I was still into my Guinness. We were enjoying the win. And then the second half came out, and it kind of started to get a little nervy. They scored quick. Wissa, I think his dive was just ridiculous. That booking was, I thought was certainly fair, but then I thought he dove again a little bit later on when Dan Byrne kind of just barely tapped him on the shoulder and he went down easy too. But he took a good goal. I think Janelt's goal, that was really well worked. Kevin and some others would know, who was at fault for the goals, but I thought Murphy and Longstaff didn't track back well enough. But we finished on a win, so it was good. And the fact that Bruno scored the goal and had that reaction made all of us, I know, here in my little Toon Army, northern Wisconsin, where we were watching the game inside this pub here, we were high-fiving all around thinking there's no way that guy's going to leave this team this summer.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Well made. Kev, we spoke about the match with you yesterday, but yeah, just emphasising really what Tom said about Bruno. I mean, that was a celebration of somebody who looked like he was staying, and all the post-match reaction as well. I think, listening to Eddie Howe, he clearly wants Bruno and Isaac and Gordon to stay, and I get the impression they'll all be there at the start of the next season.
Absolutely, and it comes across as just pure love and passion for the club, all of them. Bruno, Isaac, Joe Linton, those who signed new deals recently. So agree with Tom. I can't see any of them leaving. And we've discussed previously on other shows that who's going to splash the cash for him, who's got the fiscal clout to drop £100+ million on X player. So yeah, it was just great to see, especially with the bucket hat on. It just looked like he was a fan celebrating a goal on a Sunday league team. It was brilliant to see. But outside of that, he's been fantastic all year. The discipline that Bruno especially shown, 12, 13 games it was without a booking, and he's had to change his game as a central midfielder, where that's when games are won and lost, essentially in that middle part of the field. And so yeah, with his discipline, he's great range of passing. He's one for the ball. His desire, his work, his in-game running across the season was that stat surprised me, because it doesn't look like he moves very far, but again, he obviously has. And he just once he gets into the game, he just controls it from start to finish. Once he gets going, and it's just a pleasure to watch him. And I can't wait to see him grow again next season. Not with saying better players around him, but with the depth of quality that we need around him, and push for another Champions League push campaign, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. And are you? We've been getting an update on a regular basis about the work that you're doing now. You've got a new job, and you said you might be tying in with a club in the UK. Can you let us know yet?
Can't let us know. There's a big drop tomorrow.
Okay.
And all I'll say, mum's the word. So we've been notified through Facebook, and go to SSA Elite, and you can have a look at that. And that's all I'll say about that.
All right.
That was an Eddie Howe answer right there.
We'll keep an eye on a very a politician's answer. Martin, great result of the weekend. Another 4 goals away from home, and the record breakers continue. We might not have kept as many clean sheets this season, but we scored some wonderful goals, and great amount of goals as well. But we're away form probably let us down, it has to be said, but that was a good away performance.
Yeah, I think you listen to Eddie Howe talk, back end of the last couple of games, he knows that the away form's not been good enough, and that they need to work on the break. We've had some huge key players missing, and I think if you look at any team that had a best parts of a core 11 out, I think to finish 7th, I take Tom's point where we've ended up, I think is a successful season in my book. I think if we'd turned 11 of those losses away from home into an extra couple of draws and a couple of wins, we'd have been there or thereabouts in the Champions League place. But it wasn't to be. We lost players. I think, we players come in that probably wouldn't necessarily be playing as many games as they did, but I think they came in Kraft, players like that. Hall has come in and started to do really well, look really promising. I think the game on Sunday, I think as much as Brentford are the team they are, I think without Joe Linton in that middle of that park, I think that's a completely different game on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think him coming back in really solidified that midfield. It enabled Bruno to do what he does best, which is to get up the park, get onto the ball, control the play. Where, you know, when we haven't had Joe Linton there, his starting position has been a lot deeper. And, you know, we miss that creativity when he's not there, especially away from home when we sometimes drop to a back five. You know, he's not able to be himself. So I think recruitment will play a massive part in that over the summer as to who we bring in, you know, to enable him to be further up the pitch. Interestingly, I do an odd podcast with the guys from the Weekly Armchair. We did a season review there on Thursday night last week, and it was made up of City fans, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs. Apart from the two City lads and Arsenal to a degree, the rest of them were actually shitting themselves in the form that we were in. They were really, really nervous with the run that we'd gone on. And one of the lads, in fairness, said to me, only the fact that a few of your remaining games were away from home, we were bricking it, because if they'd have been at home, we think you would have gone ahead of a lot of us. So it was just interesting to get the feedback from, you know, some decent fans of other teams that look at Newcastle now. Interestingly, the other thing was they are all 100% convinced that we'll have to sell Bruno and Isaac this summer to be able to grow again. And I kind of said to them, lads, that's not the case. We're not a selling club anymore. So it was just interesting to get the vibe from them that, listen, Newcastle are a great team, but you're screwed unless you sell your two best players. And I said to them, lads, we don't need to. It's not going to happen. We'll still grow again. But interesting. But yeah, they were definitely rattled as to where our form was and what we were doing, considering the players missing. So it was an interesting take, apart from the lad from City who was just like, didn't actually care, and he was just, we're winning everything anyway, so it doesn't really matter what you used to. So, but an interesting take. But yeah, good result. Home form's been great, apart from, say, the likes of Forest and the Luton draw. But I think away form, definitely, if we can improve that next season, then I think top four with a few additions, players back from injury, then I think there's no reason we can't qualify and be up in that top four again.
What did you make of the foul by Tony, by the way, on Bruno, Martin?
I thought it was dirty, if I'm honest. I thought it was a bit sneaky. There was a couple of fouls in amongst that game where, like, Maupay did the same towards the back end as well. There was a foul from Maupay that he went in and down the back of the Achilles. And I just thought it got a little bit rattled towards the end when we scored the fourth. I think the same with the penalty. I thought Halls was a penalty nailed on. I didn't think he was outside the box. When you look at it, his foot, his landing foot and the foot that he is on is well inside the box. So for me, it doesn't matter where the defender started and where that contact may have initiated, but when he went down, his lead foot was in the box. So that was a penalty for me all day long. And just another example, unfortunately, where the referee and VAR can't make a consistent decision, because I think if that's, you know, a top four club, I think that gets given all day long.
Yeah, me too.
Few niggly fouls, yeah.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was strange on the last day of the season. Maybe frustration just on Tony's behalf, having his goal choked off. Last game, probably at Brentford, not going out on a high. So there we go.
I thought Maupay's was a bit worse, Steve. If I'm honest, I thought his was the worst foul. And I think we saw that from the reaction of, you know, the players that got around him after he kind of went into our lad. You could see the reaction from the likes of Trippier and stuff. They weren't happy at all. And you know, Trippier's fairly refined. I don't think he really gets that kind of wound up if there's not something in it. So I thought it was interesting to see pretty much our entire back five, goalkeeper and everybody else remonstrating. So, you know, it's not nice to see. There's no need for a dirty foul like that, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. Big shout out to Kev's missus who's watching the show. Hi, Liz. And she says, hi, all. I enjoy watching the show from the other side instead of looking at the back of my husband's head while he's on the show. Love this and everyone's thoughts and comments. Thanks for watching, Liz. Magnus, what was your take on the game at the weekend, mate?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a sort of nervousness for this match. You know, often we are really good on a final match day, like we did with Tottenham Hotspur a few years ago when we were already relegated and stuff. Often this is a game that has no meaning, but it sure did, and I'm sure they pumped up the meaning because every place in the league matters, and ending up above Manchester United for the very first time in the Premier League means something to us, and they have in their own hands either Europe or no Europe when they play Man City, and I totally will support Man City next weekend. The game itself, I think it's important to finish strong. I think it means a lot because we have had our struggles away from home, and we're getting our weapons back. And I think this is really positive. It may be a little bit too little, too late, but we're getting the likes of, the foundations of the club. The Joelinton and Nick Pope and obviously Trippier didn't have the best of days, but that happened. On the other hand, back to winning ways, we beat both Burnley and we beat them. This is obviously something we need to work on. We need to defend better away from home. If you're not going to win, you need to squeeze in a draw. And I know for a fact when everybody is fully fit, we can, and we should. So I don't think Eddie Howe gets credit enough for the issues that he's been dealing with, is because he doesn't complain, which I am very proud of. You see managers in the past and in other teams complaining. It's always so difficult for them, and we just hear no such thing with 10 to 15 players of the senior squad out for most of the season. I'm going to be happy about this, and I'm especially happy about ending up above Man United. Long may that continue, and I'm looking forward to next season after the way we finished on Sunday.
Okay, good stuff. Big shout out to Mozza and Alan. They're in the Black Gallery pub in Krakow, listening to AC/DC and Zeppelin, etc. Been a busy day visiting both Auschwitz and Birkenau. Very emotional and heartbreaking. Might be able to tune in later. That was from Alan, but they are watching. They've managed to tune in. Good. Have a good holiday. Seen your photographs, and I'll see you when you get back. Look forward to it. Stu, a few questions coming in for you, mate, because as we all know, you were in a privileged position at the boxing. Gary Milliken says, hi, Stu, did you enjoy the boxing? Did you think it was the right result? And Phil Shuttleworth says, I watched the boxing as well on Saturday night. The only fans they showed were Ronaldo, and he was looking out for Stu and Mitch. Were you near him, Stu? Enjoy the boxing, Stu?
I feel a bit uneasy taking this section of George. Like, is this Ask Stu instead of Ask George today?
Ask Stu, yeah. Ask Stu.
The boxing, to be fair, it's still sinking in. It was surreal. What you've seen on the video that Mitch put on, or sent to you, that you put on Twitter, how close we were. To give you an idea, there was the proper ringside people like the Ronaldos and Sheikh Turkey, etc. And then you've got the media behind that. And then we were sitting, and as the main fight came on, the boxers from the previous fight started sitting around us. That's how privileged we were. Friend, I've got to thank my good friend who managed to arrange to get us the tickets. Very influential guy in Saudi Arabia, and we've met some interesting people, which we'll talk about, I presume, on the professionals. But the fight itself, I thought it was an excellent fight, and probably the right call in the end. I don't think Tyson did enough to win it, and there was a huge Ukrainian fan presence there. It made for a fantastic atmosphere. Sold out, so hopefully we'll get back again in October for the rematch.
And I saw you met an up and coming fighter beforehand in Riyadh. Al Walid, I think he was named. I saw that boxing pose that Al Walid put up on the photograph. Very professional. Yeah,
that was before he goes into training camp. Obviously, he's got a bit of timber to shed before he starts getting into fighting.
He needs to get into a snowy field with a log above his head and a few chain slippers on.
Yeah, he's gonna do the Rocky training schedule, I think, Al
That's it,
Walid, before he boxes. But that was good to see. Good that you guys caught up.
It was great. It was great with Al Walid because I go to Riyadh a lot, as you know, and without fail, every time I'm there, I always meet up with Al Walid, and it was great that Mitch could join us this time. And as Al Walid says, he was honoured to be in the presence of Dr. Neil. So
Very
big
good.
shout out to Al Walid for coming to join us for a bite to eat. And one time, hopefully next time he'll pay for it.
Yeah. So the football then, Stu. Brentford. It wasn't a 3-1, which was disappointing. That was the only text I was getting off you at 3-0. Just need Brentford to score.
And I was like, ease off, lads. There's no need for this. But the big players put in a big performance, which was fantastic to see. And as joyous as it was, it amplified my Old Trafford frustrations because that's what was needed then. But it seems like the shook off whatever was causing the problems there, and they wanted the end of the season in style. And I think it's quite an easy team talk, isn't it? Look, you lads, you've got a 24, 25-hour flight. It's going to be a lot easier if you've got yourself 7 players secured and 3 points in the bag. And they went and did it. I thought Isak was back to his brilliant sharp best. Bruno dictated, and he was allowed to because his pal Joe Linton was next to him. His bodyguard, his enforcer was there, so to give him a bit more freedom. And the defence looked a lot more comfortable with Nick Pope in goal as well. So all in all, you know, I like the figures and stats and stuff like that. So one I haven't seen, but one I wrote down, which I tried to read it the next morning. I thought, how the hell did I manage to write like that? It didn't make sense. But anyway, that's against teams with red and white stripes away from home this season. We've scored 15 goals in 3 games. So why couldn't we have just drawn Atletico Madrid and Red Star Belgrade in the Champions League? You know, would have been the next round, no problem. So there was 8 against Sheffield United, 3 against the Scum, and 4 against Brentford, which is 15, what it was last time I went to school. So I think we come alive when we play teams in red and white stripes. And the last thing I want to say is regarding the question that you asked earlier, is it progress this season? For me, no. It's more than acceptable 7th, all things considered, but it's not a decline because it's not progress. If anything, it's more of a consolidation that we are here, and in the first adversity, we're going nowhere, and we're only going to get better, and that's why you'll see other people biting and getting more and more worried. So the Geordie machine is on the rise, and maybe now, and I'm going to ask a question which is rhetorical because we all know the answer, but maybe now Sky Sports will refer to us as United because we're the highest finishing United in the land. We all know the answer to that one, but why not?
Yeah, I agree. It's born a contention with me every time they refer to them as United. But you're right. You need to continue finishing above them because it's not really important anymore. And like I put that tweet out, you know, for me it was all about, you know, winning the league or winning a trophy this season or qualifying for Europe. And once upon a time, finishing above Man U was the aim, you know, because it did mean something. Now it should be a formality finishing above Manchester United. And I really meant
sliding doors moment. We're passing each other on the way. We really are in the ascendancy, and they're in turmoil. And the guy who's took over Ratcliffe, well, he hasn't taken over. He's bought into them. I think he didn't realise the enormity of the task he's got ahead of them, and there's so much to clean that we'll finish above them for many more seasons to come. I genuinely believe that.
It's been like the tortoise and the hare, right? Because I've had Melly Barnes, that obviously our Manchester United fan who pops on every now and then, my mate, he's literally for the last 4 weeks been leaving me voicemails coming out of Old Trafford or away grounds, you know, mind the gap, etc., etc. And I've literally ignored everyone. I've read them. He's seen that I've read them, but I've ignored them. And then on Sunday, you know what's coming. I replied, but I just replied with a voicemail. I didn't gloat. I said exactly what I'd said on my tweet. I just said, it's two average teams played each other. You managed to beat us on the night. And I said, but I said, ultimately, I said, we've finished above you, Melly. And I said, it doesn't really bother me that. I said, you know, you've got to now win the FA Cup final against Man City to qualify. But like I genuinely feel it's, as you say, it's a sliding doors moment. So yeah, long may it continue. Al Walid, a good result at the weekend, and yeah, you got to meet Neil as well, which must have been good for you after all this time.
Yeah, of course. I met Stewart and Dr. Neil, and it was great, especially Dr. Neil. A long time I didn't see him in person. We have a nice evening and nice chatting. It's good that for me and how pardon my English, I feel it's like my brothers, the Geordies, my brothers. I don't feel that I am in Riyadh or Newcastle when I meet them. It's always we have the Newcastle link. This is make me feel great, really.
Well, you are an adopted Geordie
yes.
now, Al Walid. You're an adopted Geordie. You've been our friend for quite a few years now. So, yes, you are. You need a Geordie passport, Al Walid.
I have, but not officially. But I have one.
What did you make of the game, Brentford Newcastle? What did you make of the game? It was a good game.
Of course, it's great to end the season away game in style. Score 4 goals against good side in Brentford. I'm happy that we took a lot of points from London this season. And I believe the 7th, it's like our minimum. So I'm happy because I feel that number 7 is going to be always our minimum, inshallah. Our minimum. We have difficult season, a lot of circumstances, but we end 7th, and we were few rounds in past. We have a great opportunity to reach Europe League or maybe get to the top 4, but I believe this is gonna happen soon. Always there is something better with Newcastle, of course, next season. I hope we have more players, because no matter which player play, or we put him left back or the center back, or we need more players, because the good thing about the team and the Eddie Howe team, they are creative. They have the potential to play all the games, but just we don't have much or great players in the bench, which was our shortage this season. So I'm very excited for the summer. Hopefully, with this better new rules of the financial, hopefully we can get better deals. And we are waiting the first deal in the summer now.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. The transfer window will be open, and we'll be covering it on UFC Matters. If you're tuning in for the first time tonight, we are broadcasting, as always, now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on Twitter. If you're looking in from there, then please jump over to NFC Matters on YouTube and hit the subscribe button. It does help us. We do 7 shows a week, all usually around about the 6 o'clock mark on a tea time, and they're usually around about an hour long, and always well worth jumping on. A bit of variety each night. Okay, here's the ads. We'll be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210-102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers in our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel, and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. And don't forget, we've got the end of season due, 20th of July. We've got Gibbo and Supermac. We've got George and the Long Sands on stage. Tickets are a tenner from newcastlelegends.com or nufcmatters.com. The party starts at 5 and all proceeds are going to Dementia Matters. So get your tickets for that. And don't forget as well, Father's Day is on its way. An evening with Rob Lee would be a perfect gift for a Newcastle fan. And Friday the 2nd of August, that's taking place at the City Hall in Newcastle. And tickets are £15 and you can get them from ticketmaster.co.uk. And tickets are selling fast for both of those events, so don't miss out. Okay, Newcastle United are in Australia. We've heard a couple of people complaining about it, Alan Shearer, Kieran Trippier, but there are going to be 2 friendly games. The first is against Spurs. That takes place tomorrow night, and that is a 7:45 kickoff for those who are going to be tuning in on nufc.co.uk. And the following game, which is against the A-League All-Stars, that is a slightly earlier kickoff. That will be 5:05. Again, I think that's on Friday night. And Newcastle United, as we announced last night on the channel, have given free coverage to season ticket holders and to members. And you've got until midnight tonight. You should have an email in your account. Click on the email and there is a code in there. You then click onto the buy the stream service and you enter the code at the bottom. Make sure you apply the code and you get both games for free. So you'll be able to stick that on one screen whilst you're listening to the Amigos on Friday night at 5:05. But the other one, yep, tomorrow night, 7:45. The team that went out there, well, there's 29 players who've gone. The players who stayed behind, Anthony Gordon, Martin Dubravka, Sean Longstaff and Fabian Shaw, all left out. That's in addition, of course, to the already injured players, the likes of Sven Botman, of course, and Jamal Lascelles. There's no place either for Sandro Tonali. He's unable to play in public friendlies, while Harrison Ashby and Garen Kowal appear following the conclusion of their loans at Swansea City and Volendam, respectively. So 29-man squad gone out there. We've already seen some social media releases from the club. Shola Amiobi in the MCG was at an afternoon event this afternoon with Spurs manager Postecoglou, which was interesting. And it's it's a money-making scheme, this. And look, Tom, I'm going to come to you first on this. We've seen Newcastle go out to America. And it's about going out into the wider community around the world and selling the football club, I guess, to fans abroad. And this particular show that we do on NUFC Matters, Geordies here, Geordies there, was set up for that reason in mind, that we would get fans on from around the world. There may be Newcastle fans who are expats like Kevin and like Stu. Martin, of course, lives in Ireland, but we've got Magnus in Iceland. We've got Al-Walid, who's been a regular contributor to the platform for over 3 years now. So, it's great to have this kind of thing for us, because it is new to us, because under previous regimes, we just haven't gone out into the wider world. We haven't embraced supporters around the world. And I know that Alan Shearer and Kieran Trippier have spoken out about it on the player's perspective, but these things need to be done, Tom.
Yeah, I was at the summer series last summer, and it got a whole lot of people charged here in the States about Newcastle United. I think we grew about 70 people in the fan base just in Toon Army, Minnesota, with that exposure. So, why are we doing it? We need money. Right? It's stacked against us. We can't spend the money that our owners have for PSR, whatever reasons that we have. So we have to drive revenue. And to drive revenue, you have to drive your fan base in a lot of cases. So fans buy gear. They support the team in many ways. I can't tell you how many shirts I have in my closet and in a trunk. I bet you I have 180 of them. That's not an exaggeration. So we spend money. It's real money. The club needs the money to reinvest back into the club, back into the players. And it's nice to have I know that Kevin's down in Toon Army, Atlanta, but in Minnesota, we go at a pub and we have Liverpool fans there. We have City fans. We have Chelsea fans there. And I would say right now, the Toon are number 2 as far as support that we get inside there. The games the other day on Saturday, I know we outdrove the Chelsea fans by 3-1, which is not the case that it used to be under Ashley or just a few years ago. So you need the exposure. You need the money. You need to drive the revenue. And I think it also rewards the fans overseas. I know Australia is a lot further away than even America is. I mean, it's a huge flight. It's the other side of the world. It is 1 week. The players are tired. They'd like to get some rest. I understand that. But then they have a number of weeks that they are going to be off that they can spend with their families, etc. So Australia is a big continent, a lot of fans, a lot of potential people spending their money for the club. And every dollar that they spent, we know will be invested back into the club, into the academy, into the stadium, into the training grounds, and most importantly, into the squad. So it was a head scratcher when it came out, but I understand the reasoning because our owners aren't allowed to spend the money that they have.
That's it. Yeah, it's FFP, and it plays a big part. And maybe it helps Newcastle get across the line with FFP this season. Who knows? Kev, I mean, look, you were part of a get together this season. Newcastle came out there, and I think they needed a little bit more organisation. On the one, I think it was an early venture into this kind of thing with Newcastle. There was lack of strips and stuff like that. I think they will improve as they go on when they do these things, especially with Adidas coming into the fray. I wouldn't be surprised if Adidas and Seller play a big part moving forward with these kind of events. But you've been part of one, and it is great, isn't it? That opportunity, Kev, to be able to go and watch the lads train and play and bring new supporters to the club.
Exactly, and then as an expat, still a season ticket holder, it was a marketing tool for us as fans who live elsewhere in the world to bring new fans in from my kids and other people, and people from across this country to actually see them who've never ever seen a Newcastle United player face to face in the flesh. And so that was a new experience. I remember those days of the 96 Keegan days when you could go down to Durham and watch them train and things like that. So it was very reminiscent of that, but not in the greater numbers. But it was just that nice experience. But again, it's just like Tom said, it's the growing the fan base. It's seeing different parts of the world. Granted, now it's Australia for a 2-game stint, which is not ideal, but look, it is what it is. The club have to create commercial revenue somehow and have to explore different ventures. Obviously, there's a Japan thing, which is going to happen, and all the rest of it. So again, we're just broadening the horizons. So every Premier League or most Premier League clubs or big Premier League clubs do this. This is what they do. So if we want to be that big team, if we want to be that big top 6, top 4, this is the road we have to go down. Regardless if people like it or not, players like it or not, they're still contractually obligated to go and do this unless there's an injury, and that's part of it. And plus, then you're reaching out to, I'm just talking like a young kid who never ever seen a Premier League game or never seen or whatever, and then all of a sudden he watches the Australian All-Stars, who they're all about. Then he watches Newcastle United. And it's like, oh, who's that team? Then it just drives the interest. It's more than just making money. For me, it's more about delving into the younger market, delving into the younger fan, and thinking, oh, what's this team in black and white? What are they all about? Then you're going to get the Google shit. Tom talked about pre-show about him walking the Hadrian's Wall. We've got one of the most beautiful counties in the whole world to come and visit. So then you get that element of it, so people coming into the region to generate money for others and things like that. But the timing for me is a bit weird, it's a bit odd, but again, we're just fans, we're just looking from the outside looking in, where we don't see the nuts and bolts of why but I get it. You know, it'll just be exhibition type stuff. We have the MLS All Stars when we have Juventus coming over and here and all the rest of it. That's how it works. That's through the summer. That's a different period of time in pre-season. But yeah, so again, unfortunately, I'm not going to watch it because 3:45 a.m. kickoff time here. I'm not entertaining that, to be perfectly honest. But look, it gives the manager an opportunity to see younger players playing against a Premier League team, against an A-League All-Star team. It gives them an opportunity just to sort of say, hey, we'll stake our claim. It's like early pre-season. So you've got to look at it from different perspectives. Yes, there's a money element, but I look at it from a obviously coaches element where, look, I've got a 29-man squad. I'm going to use everybody here, and I want to see what you got as an early pre-season. And then we'll have our break, and then we'll go into Germany from what I've been reading and hearing of the Adidas training center and stuff like that in Germany. Then we'll fly into Japan. So that, again, there's a periodization of how Eddie Howe really doesn't want it to go, but he'd rather go to Germany than Japan, or stay in Germany or Austria, whatever he would like. But again, it's out of his control. But look, more money that comes into our coffers, the better, and then we can progress further and be a bigger club across the world.
Yeah, the kickoff time, as everyone has corrected us in the chat. Yeah, I misread that. It's 8:05 in the morning, the first one. So yeah, it's an early start. I'll be doing the football show, so I'll have to have that on the background. But yeah, Martin, it's commercial, isn't it? At the end of the day, and Mark Byers makes the point. He says, "I wish Shearer had mentioned that we've got no option but to try and gain new revenue because of the stupid FFP stifling us." I guess he's hung around with Lineker too long to give a balanced view, though. I mean, yeah, it's as simple as that, isn't it? That's why we have to do these things.
Yeah, look, I mean, like, Mark is the same, Stu is the same. All the lads here on this panel, apart from yourself, Steve, we're all Newcastle fans, but we don't live at home. We don't live in Newcastle. And there are more, and I know there's some probably watching this podcast won't like to hear it, there are more black and whites than just an NE postcode. So as the club grows, unfortunately, one of the things that comes with that, the same as Man United, the same as City, the same as Spurs and their stadium, it becomes a corporate affair, unfortunately, because that football is a business. It's gone from being a sport to being a business. So if we want to compete with the best, we have to operate in a business-like manner. And that is going to mean when the stadium is expanded, there may well be more corporate boxes. If I take it from my perspective, I met you last time we were home. I don't get home as often as I would love to. I have a membership, but out of 5 or 6 ballots I went in for this season, I got 1 ticket. So there's something not quite right with having for me, the thing with the membership, and I get the season ticket thing, but with the membership, I think having unlimited membership is just a bit of nonsense. I think it needs to be capped at some point and ran correctly that you do stand a chance of getting tickets. My only option to get tickets to go home to see the lads, and it's easier for me than it is, say, for Stu, for Kev, and for the other lads, is it's a 40-minute flight from Dublin to Newcastle for me. But the only way I can get home to see the game is buying a corporate ticket.
Yeah.
And I go home and I have me a couple of pints and I get me a bit of scran and I get to watch the match, and then I, head out with Daz and the boys that we did last time, yourself, and you head out on the piss for the rest of the evening. That's my weekend. But, that for fans that do travel, I think sometimes local fans forget the amount of money that we do spend in the area and on the club, because it's flights, it's hotels, it's your gargle money. It's a fresh set of jeans you buy in the club shop. Like, I had that trip home last season, and you're spending probably anywhere up to £1,200 going for a weekend. Now, listen, it's not about the money, because I enjoyed the game and I want to be out there with my mates and I want to go home and see the club that I love. But it is going to change, and I think Tom probably knows. If you look 10 years ago and you said that the NFL would be playing games in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this year, you'd have laughed them out the park. But like, I'll be going hopefully to the game later this season when the Patriots are playing. I can't get to the States to watch American football, but it's a game I love. So the opportunity to go on an hour's flight to London to get a ticket to go and see the Patriots play and watch NFL, for me is a lifetime thing. I won't probably get to loads of those games. And it's a lot for lads that live abroad, that they don't necessarily go to every single game, but they do go to away games when they can get the tickets. They do go to the home games. But the club has to change to accommodate that. So trips to Australia, New Zealand, Asia, places like this is where the fan base has to grow. Saudi Arabia, Stu makes a good point. The amount of people that are out there was one of the things we talked about on Matters when the takeover first happened, was about how is it going to grow. You know, we spoke to Owlead about what's happening in Saudi, where, you know, will there be a club shop in Riyadh? What is Salah going to do? All of those things. So it all has to change. And I know that that doesn't suit some people, in that it's, let's just keep St. James's the way it is, and let's just not let the you know, the prawn sandwich brigade in and everything else. But that's not reality. And if we want to challenge and we want to be at the top every single season, and we want to be where City are now, we have to change. And that's the reality.
It is 100%. Yeah, well said. Magnus, yeah, I mean, I guess you'd love Newcastle to come and train at Iceland.
It would be lovely. I've only ever seen two Premier League teams come here, and they came here in a pre-season against each other, and that his story ended up with my son supporting Man City and not Newcastle. It was a horrible mistake taking him to that game. On the other hand, I do understand the PR. I mean, I know our owners don't need any money per se, but at the same time, the club does, with all the rules and regulations that we're dealing with. So I can only talk about it from my perspective. You know, I saw it on television first, and then I ended up going to a game. And my first shirt I bought in Denmark, because not every store in Iceland had it. So starting a fan right from the beginning is endless worth, you know, regardless of where they are based in the universe, because that might end up in, we all like our merchandise, we like our kits, we like, if we get the chance to see the team anywhere closer to us. I mean, don't forget that Australia is a whole continent. So I bet there's lots of young kids that have been dreaming about seeing the team, and now can fulfill that dream. So I can understand also the perspective of the players. We haven't had an easy run or any kind of lady luck with our injuries, and this is not an ideal time, but when is the ideal time? We've got the Euros coming up. We've got the Copa America coming up. Some people are going to the Olympic Games. This is probably something that this continent must have been something high on their ranks, because soccer, as they call it over there, is getting more and more interesting and attracting more fans. So I think every fan is important, and this is probably why they're doing it, traveling the world. Timing probably could have been better, but this is a busy summer, and maybe getting it over with and done with whatever players we've got. I do see the point of Kieran Trippier talking about guys with a heavy international duties might not play all that much. But on the other hand, Karan Cole and the guys that haven't flourished or been able to show the rest of us what they're made of. Mentia, I would love to see him play, you know, and there are a few other names that we haven't seen. Alex Murphy, I'd love to see him play. So maybe this is their break that they wouldn't normally have gotten. And all a part of the process. Rome didn't get built in a day, neither did Man United or Liverpool, but this is a one step towards becoming bigger, stronger, and with better income.
Yeah, good stuff. Well said. Before I come to Stu, you've got some breaking news on Ashworth, Martin. You've been keeping an eye on the socials. What's going on? Oh, you're on mute, mate.
Yeah, I have it there. I just realised. So Craig Hope has literally just tweeted out, Dan Ashworth email blunder opens door to tapping up probe. So it would appear that Ashworth sent an email message to incoming Man United chief Omar Barada, who was currently on leave, gardening leave from City. But he somehow managed to copy in an NUFC account on a discussion about joining Man United before the formal approach even happened.
Oh.
So that email has, according to Craig Hope, that email is in viewing status, and he says that the email blunder will lead to several discussions within NUFC after NUFC account exchange is discovered with Dan Ashworth chatting to Omar Barada, who is about to join Man United after leaving City before any formal approach from United. So it looks like Mr. Ashworth has dropped a bit of a clanger, one would say, and looks like NUFC are looking at it. So there you go.
Cheers, mate. Good stuff.
No bother.
Another good story that will grow and grow. As Jules says, awkward. And Jules, I did get your message before. She says, at the party in July, she said, halfway through, can you stop the party and play the ad so we feel like it's our normal routine? I'll get them on the big screen, Jules. I'll get them on the big screen. In fact, I'll invite Mr. Skips and Bins. I'll invite Bev and Mr. Vicky's as well. So you'll be able
You should all arrive on a coach, Steve, as well.
on Bev's coaches, yeah. The award-winning coaches, Bev. The award-winning coaches. Stu, yeah, look, we've spoken about this on the professionals many times about Newcastle having to go out to other countries, and I just want to speak on behalf of George Mitchell as well. It's not a ballot, it's a lottery. That's what it is. I agree wholeheartedly with what everyone said. It's ridiculous having a never-ending membership, and I think Newcastle, by the looks of it, are going to readdress that this summer. That's why it was a one-off payment. There's going to be a new membership scheme launched. How it looks, what it does, I'm sure we'll be told very, very soon. And maybe they're going to have a set number. Let's wait and see. But yeah, it's important, Stu, to do these things, these trips. And look, individuals might not have had to go. I mean, I am surprised Trippier's going. England's called for Trippier and Gordon. Congratulations to both of them. But I'm surprised especially with the fact he's just come back for injury, he's gone. But on the flip side of that, somebody pointed out to me today, he is the captain, Steve. Jamal Lascelles can't go, he's injured. So he is the captain. He needs to be there as part of this. So, but listen, it's a money-making thing, and we've got to do these things, Stu.
Yeah, there's two things I want to cover just before that, Steve. I'll do it as quick as I can.
Yeah, you've got time. Go for it.
The one thing I wanted to say was I thought the starting lineup on Sunday was a nod to next season. There was no Trippier, no Wilson, and no Miggy, and they would normally have started with the players left available. So it seemed like a change enough to God. That's probably from Trippier's outburst. Maybe he's already decided he's leaving, etc. Now, I'm a bit annoyed with Martin. Well, not Martin, but for Craig Hope, because that was one of the exclusives that me and Mitch gathered from the weekend in Riyadh. As I said to you on the phone earlier, didn't I? We had some conversations with people high up in PIF who asked not to be named, so we won't name them, and it wasn't the chairman before people get too excited. And Dan Ashworth was a question Mitch asked one about players, but Mitch asked a question about Dan Ashworth. And as little as my Arabic was or is, the way it was replied is the Newcastle as a club would rather shit in the hands and clap than bend down to Manchester United and give him a reduced fee. And there was not so much venom, but there was a sternness in the voice where it indicated something that we've alluded to in the.
Oh, he's cut off in his prime. There he is. He's back. You got cut off there.
Right. Yeah, that hadn't played ball, and they had been a bit underhand, and PAF are quite prepared to sit and let him rot in his garden unless they pay the terms that Newcastle are requesting. Now, this has come out, and we have to be very careful not to announce something like that because it's not our job to do that, to be fair. But also, you've got to take into consideration they could be liable, but we were aware of it, and now it seems that everyone else is aware of it. And I'm sure most people were very suspicious of Ashworth's motives. Why would he ask to resign if he hadn't been approached? Because the club hadn't been approached. So we all knew it was going on. This is now just vindication of Newcastle's stance. And long may it continue. And I know we've both, Mitch and I, have said on previous shows that it's great to have owners like that who will take the moral high ground and will stand up and say, no, we're not going to bend over for you, Manchester United. You've he's breached his contract. You broke Premier League rules by approaching someone. So pay the money or wait. So that's that one out of the way. Regarding the question with Australia, of course, I think we mentioned the professionals. You're paid by the club. You go where the club tell you to go to. And I know it's not ideal for the players, but at the same time, if someone says, right, you're finishing work and we'll give you an all expenses paid trip to Australia, you've just got to do a couple hours graft when you're there. Most people will jump at it, but they don't live in a normal world. And I get the argument about people for the Euros, people for the Copa to America, etc. However, it is Newcastle United that pay their wages. Now, this is a sad indictment of football, as Martin referred to. It is commercial driven. I don't think anyone can say it's not. But as I touched on earlier, I'm a figures man. Newcastle United are getting paid a minimum £3 million for going there to play these two games. That's not going to take into consideration merchandise sold, new fans accrued, and what the knock-on effect it has long term for the club. So of course it makes sense to do that. And by the time they get back, Manchester City have beat Manchester United in the cup final, the FA Cup final, the most prestigious cup competition in world football. Do you know how much Manchester City get for winning it? £2 million. And we get 50% more for a couple of kickabouts in Australia. Now that's greed, and that's where the world's gone to. But our hand is forced because our owners aren't allowed to invest in their own investment. They're not allowed to spend money to make their asset better. So they have to think outside the box. They've got to do things like this. So that £3 million is £60,000 extra per week, or for terms that I understand it in, that covers Joe Linton's pay rise or Isaac's pay rise. So it's beneficial to the club, it's beneficial to the players, it's beneficial to us as fans. And don't get me wrong, if any fan could afford it and had the time off, they'd be in Australia watching them as well. And it's great that they can take them these places. I understand it's not ideal at the end of the season, but until regulations are changed, they have to do it. And it may well happen again next season unless we're in the cup final, because if you know it wasn't announced until we got knocked out against Man City. The Australian Football Association or Federation wanted the best, highest finishing teams, and at the time Tottenham, Newcastle, with the potential, were more than willing to do it. And again, I touched on the professionals. Newcastle seem to be the only ones that is getting fingers pointed at for doing such a horrendous act. No one's mentioned Tottenham. There's two teams playing. They're not playing by themselves. But I understand why they're doing it. And financially, it makes sense. Or if you want to put it in a transfer fees, that £3 million, if you amortise it over 5 years, is 15 million quid. That's a leg for a half-decent player. So this is why they're doing it. And we can complain about it, but we'll all tune in if we can tomorrow morning or Friday morning. That's what we do.
Yeah, I had somebody asking about the director of football. Any updates when you were at the boxing the other night from your contact? Any news?
No, we asked. Actually, it was me that said, "Is he getting it?" I think. Now I was sober at the time because obviously I was in Saudi, but yeah. I think I was speaking a bit too quick, where not all the questions were understood correctly. So that one just got brushed off. But we did get one, which we'll probably talk about on Sunday, Sunday's show, regarding player sales and players incoming. But the other one was regarding Ashworth. And Mitch says, what did he say? Because I said a couple of Arabic words and he replied back, but mostly in English. So that's why I just turned around and said to Mitch, I said he'd rather shake his hands and clap than give them Dan Ashworth for next to nothing.
Yeah, that's good. So now I know why you drink so many Jaeger bombs. It's to slow your speech down so these people out there can understand you. I knew there was a method in it. I knew there was a reason. Al Walid, we'll finish with you, my friend. Yeah, just Newcastle have to do this. They have to travel abroad to try and bring in new support around the world.
Of course, Newcastle club doing a great job in spreading all countries of the world when every chance happens, and I like that. It wasn't expected to go to Australia right after the season. This is something new, and this is good for Newcastle that there is no much routine, and if they have a break also in the winter, they always travel. But I hope it will it need I think more engaged, I think, win a chance with the fans when they are traveling.
Great stuff. That's the hour done. Happy birthday, Lauren Robert. Chippers, great player, well mentioned. Great that you could stick that on there. A man with some wonderful goals to his name in a black and white shirt. And Peacock White of Leeds United Football Club is in the chat again. He wants people to subscribe to his channel. So if you want to go and follow him, give him a follow on his YouTube channel. It's the same name as his handle. And I think Alan would be a good guest because Alan is in the chat. He likes going on there. There he is, Alan Thompson. He says Ashworth's coming back. Alan, go and join that Leeds channel. I know you like to get on and wind away supporters up, and Leeds could be an away supporter next season. I'm back tomorrow night, Talk of the Tune, and that will be at 6 o'clock with me, Sid, and Rob. But tonight it's thanks to Al-Walid, Magnus, Stu, Martin, Kevin, and Tom. A great debut on tonight's show. If you would fancy coming back, it would be nice to have you back on, mate, as our second American correspondent.
I'd be pleased to be in the same breath with Kevin. So there you go. I'd be happy to be teamed up with him.
Great stuff, mate. Fantastic.
Lovely to meet you.
Have a great night, guys. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Take it easy, fellas.
Thanks for watching.